dark magic.
If you've been paying attention at all, you know that not only was 9/11 another false flag attack perpetrated by the powers that shouldn't be, but it was also foreshadowed before it happened a ridiculous number of times in every form of media imaginable. A favorite place for the cabal to do their foreshadowing is in popular cartoons like Family Guy and The Simpsons. And of all the obvious 9/11 references in the 1997 Simpsons episode, City of New York vs. Homer Simpson, one scene actually gives us a big clue to something else they've done. Something that might be one of the biggest jokes they've played on us yet. Making us carry around pictures of 9/11's horrors in our wallet on their fiat paper currency. In one particular scene of this Simpsons episode, the family is discussing going to Manhattan. Lisa holds up a bus schedule that clearly shows 9 and 11, the 11 represented by the Twin Towers on the front cover. This, paired with talk of going to New York where 9/11 happened, is already rather brazen. But then Bart holds up a bunch of money in front of the numbers 9 and 11. The price of the bus trip or the reason unemployed 10-year-old Bart has this cash does not come up at any other point in the episode. It's simply a clue within a clue, 9/11 and money. So let's take a close look at our money. When this episode aired, the Rockefeller's Federal Reserve had just released a new series of bills with changes made to all of the buildings on the backs of the 5 to the 100. No significant changes had been made to the backs of the bills since the 1928 series. On the new 1996 series of bills, all of the same buildings appeared on the same denominations, but each one was either moved a bit or a completely different side of the same building was now shown. The Lincoln Memorial has always appeared on the modern $5 bill, but on the new 5, the building was widened and lowered down a bit. On the new 10, the Treasury building has gone from an angled view to a dead-on frontal view. The new 20 has gone from showing the famous view of the south side of the White House with the round portico to the completely opposite north side. There are actually 2 new 50s. The old bill from 1928 showed the east side of the Capitol building, but as of the 96 series, the west side now appears. The 96 series shows a blank sky behind the building, but as of the 2004 series, big white clouds appear behind the west side view. They barely touched Independence Hall on the back of the $100 bill, except to move it up just slightly. Place each bill face up, fold the bottom up, find the center point, and bring both ends up like so. Folded this way, the old bills showed nothing of note. But the new bills show these 6 scenes, each one framed by an arch. The arch shape framing each scene was added to every bill that didn't already have it as of the 1996 series. It represents the Washington Square Arch, which is about 2 miles north and to the east of where the towers once stood. In 2007, despite a great deal of opposition from local politicians and the artists and residents who use Washington Square Park, the City of New York Parks Department and Rockefeller cohort Mayor Michael Bloomberg pushed through a park renovation project, spending tens of millions of dollars to, among other things, move the Washington Square Park's fountain from the place where it had been located in the center of the park for 138 years. The new spot for the fountain? 22 feet east, so that it now sits almost in line with the opening in the archway. This is the view through the arch today. The folks who opposed the moving of the fountain altogether are still angry about the destruction of the character of the historic park, the cutting down of dozens of mature trees, and the lack of funds left over for normal maintenance. They've also noted that the fountain is still not aligned with the arch on Fifth Avenue, which was the excuse given for moving it all along. Here's what the new fountain is in line with. As the cornerstone of this arch was laid in 1890 in accordance with the ancient rites of Masonry and in full Masonic ritual. Presiding at the dedication ceremony for the arch were 10 officers of the Grand Lodge of Masons. You know, the Masons, one of those repugnant secret societies Kennedy warned us about.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
In 2000, the New York City Parks Department embarked on an extensive restoration of the arch. They unveiled and rededicated the arch on August 16, 2001, just 26 days before it would frame the most horrific mass murder in the history of the United States. The arch has two inscriptions on it. One is a George Washington quote that ends in the words, "The event is in the hand of God." Washington was talking about the creation of the Constitution when he supposedly said this. There are also two 16-foot-tall statues of Washington on the arch. Behind the statue on the west side of the arch, a figure called Justice is holding a book directly over the statue of George Washington's head. The book says, in Latin, "Exitus acta probat," which translated means, "The outcome justifies the deed," or in other words, "The end justifies the means." What event and what deed could the masons who erected this arch have been referring to? Here's the Washington statue on the east side of the arch, complete with something that looks like a chain leading up under Washington's cape. The view of the towers through the arch was a favorite for photographers, painters, and filmmakers. Here's a scene from When Harry Met Sally, showing the arch and the towers. Note how they're sure to show us this University of Chicago window sticker. The University of Chicago was founded by John D. Rockefeller, and it's where David Rockefeller received his PhD. To recap, the $5 bill shows the towers being built, complete with the cranes used to build them. The $10 bill shows the North Tower burning and the iconic first plane hole. The $20 bill shows the South Tower now also burning and human head-shaped objects stacked up like the doomed innocent men and women in the windows on 9/11. The 50s show the towers exploding into dust and the empty sky afterward. And the $100 bill shows the water plume of the new, arbitrarily moved for no apparent good reason and at tremendous expense, fountain in Washington Square Park. All framed by the Washington Square Arch, with its cryptic inscriptions, Masonic roots, and statue of our first president and father of our country with what looks like a chain on his leg. These 6 folded bills, all but one of them released 5 years before 9/11, depict the scenes that took place before, during, and after that horrible day. The $5 bill shows what looks like 2 towers, but they're shorter than the towers on the 10 and the 20. This is because in this scene they're still being built. David Rockefeller spearheaded the project to build the towers in the late 1960s. Together with his brother Nelson, New York governor at the time, they made deals, flexed political muscle, and soon the Port Authority of New York initiated eminent domain proceedings against the outraged residents and businesses in Lower Manhattan that stood where the Rockefellers wanted the towers built. Over 300 businesses were displaced and destroyed to make way for the towers. Here's David Rockefeller in 1967 on the cover of Newsweek, less than 1 year after the groundbreaking for the WTC began. The hands on his watch, which is prominently displayed, are set at 9 and 11. The folded $5 bill shows the Twin Towers in the midst of their construction. You can even see something that looks like the kangaroo cranes used to build the towers on the top. The folded $5 bill is Scene 1, Towers being built. The $10 bill shows the tower on the right, which, through the arch, would be the North Tower, with what looks like fire and smoke close to the top. The North Tower was the first one that was hit on 9/11 between the 93rd and 98th floors of the 110-floor building at 8:46 a.m. Note that the artist decided for some reason to make a few leaves going in a different direction than the rest, right here, exactly where the iconic first plane hole on the north side of the North Tower would appear on 9/11-2001. The folded $10 bill is Scene 2, North Tower hit. The $20 bill shows the tower on the left now with the fire and smoke, much lower than the one on the right. This is because the South Tower would be hit next, about 20 floors lower than the North at 9:03 a.m. A close-up of the top areas of the 20 shows clustered groups of oval shapes supposedly representing leaves, but none of these leaves are found in the close-up of any of the other bills. Many of these oval shapes seem to be arranged one on top of the other. Could we be looking at something else they knew would happen on 9/11? Are these representative of their victims, clamoring for air in the final moments of their lives, piled on top of each other in the extremely narrow windows of the towers? The folded $20 bill is Scene 3, South Tower hit. The 1996 $50 bill and the 2004 $50 bill show the next 2 scenes, but they're out of order. I guess even arrogant, psychotic Satanists have to be a little bit subtle. The 2004 $50 bill, folded, is an obvious depiction of the towers being demolished. Scene 4. The 1996 $50 bill shows Scene 5, Nothing Through the Arch, which is how the view looked from after the destruction of the Twin Towers on September 11, 2001, until the next scene was made reality around 2009. The $100 bill is the sixth scene, the water fountain.
The currencies, I started playing with yesterday, and I started bringing out my currencies, and I started making airplanes, but I started folding them the other way. And so here, if you can see, here is the $5 bill with Tower 1 on it, and then I flip it around, and if you turn it over this way, you can see that there's a painting. It looks like there's a painting going on here, and there's a 5 in purple, which is kind of like a sun in purple. In purple, you're starting to see the theme, purple come in, purple's royalty. You saw Donald Trump wear purple ties. You saw when they went to inauguration of Trump that Clintons were wearing purple. So there's this purple theme being introduced. And then at the bottom, you have In God We Trust of the White House, and it's being pointed down like it's being destroyed. And there's a new painting coming above that. And I said, wow, that's interesting. And then I got another version of a $5 bill. And here's a plane, and I don't know what you can make of this, Paul, but it looks like there's some type of machine down below here, and there's that painting again, bridged by like 2 cypress trees or something like that. So that's on the 5. So then I go to the 10, and here's the tower being brought down on the 10, and then at the bottom, this is very interesting, then at the bottom, when you flip it over, that's the US Treasury upside down. And they're pointing down like it's being destroyed. Well, we're $20 trillion in current debt, hundreds of $1 trillion in obligated debt. They have to destroy the currency. Now you flip this thing over on the 10, what do you see? Well, that looks like what they say, you know, if you fold it the wrong way, you get the Twin Towers. No, you turn it this way, what do you get? You see what that is? That's the Pentagon. That's the hole in the Pentagon where the plane flew in, right?